Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. The Ministry of National Security plays a critical role in ensuring Bermuda remains a safe, stable, and secure place to live. Today, I want to take this opportunity to expand on the initiatives that will guide our work over the coming months and the reasons why these efforts are necessary. The National Violence Reduction Strategy remains a top priority, and we will continue working to tackle violence at its roots. Too many lives have been affected by crime and antisocial behavior, and we are committed to making Bermuda safe for everyone. A key part of this effort is providing early intervention for our youth. Last year, I stood before you and promised to restore youth counseling services, because we know that young people who are facing challenges need access to professional support. I am pleased to confirm that we are delivering on that promise. The Bermuda Youth Counseling Services will now operate under the Department of National Drug Control, providing structured guidance to young people between the ages of 10 and 18. This initiative ensures that those who need help can receive it in a way that is accessible, professional, and designed to create real change. The government and Government House have agreed to review Bermuda's security and defense policies to ensure that they remain fit for purpose in today's world. This process will build on the 2014 Security and Defense Review, but take a fresh look at our current evolving challenges. A modern Bermuda requires a strategic, well-equipped, and adaptable security structure, and this review will allow us to identify areas for improvement. Discussions on this matter are ongoing, with careful consideration given to the respective roles of the Government of Bermuda and His Excellency, the Governor. This year marks a significant milestone, the 60th anniversary of the Royal Bermuda Regiment. The regiment has provided vital support to our island for 6 decades, from disaster response to maritime security and community assistance. This government fully recognizes the invaluable role that the regiment plays, and we look forward to marking this anniversary in a way that honors its contribution to Bermuda. How we approach security is evolving, and in today's world, digital security is just as important as physical security. In response to the increasing risk posed by cybercrime, this legislative session will introduce amendments to Bermuda's cybersecurity laws. The Electronic Communications or Cybercrime Amendment Bill will update our legal framework to address modern threats and protect our digital infrastructure. Businesses, government agencies, and the public rely on secure communications, and these legislative changes will strengthen our ability to combat cyber threats effectively. We are also taking steps to clarify and modernize the rules surrounding the importation of medicinal marijuana and hemp products. Changes to the Misuse of Drugs Act will establish a clear and structured framework that ensures Bermuda's laws are practical, enforceable, and aligned with international best practices. We aim to create a regulatory system that removes uncertainty while upholding Bermuda's legal and social obligations. Keeping our roads and communities safe remains a key focus of this ministry. Our commitment to expanding the island-wide CCTV network has not changed. As we move forward with this initiative, we are approaching the final implementation phase, which will introduce speed cameras as part of the broader CCTV network. This is the next step in a multi-phase strategy that began with increasing CCTV surveillance across the island. The integration of speed cameras is the natural progression in this effort and will provide additional tools to encourage safer driving and reduce road fatalities. While enforcement is one aspect, this ultimately prevents dangerous driving and saves lives. Introducing speed cameras is not a standalone initiative, but rather the combination of a long-term plan to modernize traffic enforcement and enhance public safety. At the same time, we must ensure that Bermuda is prepared for natural disasters, cyber threats, and other emergencies. Our ministry is reviewing and strengthening emergency response frameworks so that we are ready to act swiftly and effectively when crises arise. The Ministry of National Security is not just about enforcement. It's about building a Bermuda where people feel safe in their homes, streets, and communities. Our work in the months ahead will focus on providing young people with opportunities, enhancing security infrastructure, and ensuring our laws keep pace with modern challenges. These are what matters most: our people, our communities, and our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, we'll invite questions from the media, starting with Royal Gazette.
So good afternoon, Gareth Finnegan, Royal Gazette. To start off with, you talked about the National Violence Reduction Strategy and how this is, it's going to be providing early intervention to children as young as 10 to steer them away from crime. But do you think that's really effective? I mean, if teenagers want to join gangs or whatever, or get involved in crime, they're going to do so. They can come from perfectly respectable backgrounds, have a decent education and all the rest of it, but if that's the life they choose, then that's the life they choose. How effective do you think that's going to be?
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Finnegan. It's our duty as a government and our community to try our best to steer anyone that wants to get involved with antisocial behavior away from it. So we will do our best in implementing the anti-violence strategy, and hopefully, more than not, we'll be able to benefit from it.
Okay. Now, last night you held a public meeting as a recruitment drive, if you will, for uniformed services. What are staffing levels within the police and fire service and the regiment at the moment?
Well, actually, let me start by saying it was an information session just to inform the public of those that may be interested in the uniformed services. Each of the uniformed services are understaffed and undermanned, and they regularly recruit potential recruits yearly. So this session, like those before us, and hopefully we have some more, is just to alert the public that there are opportunities for a career in the uniformed services.
But what would you say to critics who would say that, what you really need is boots on the ground, and you talk about all these sort of initiatives like the anti-gang task force and things like this, and the National Violence Reduction Strategy. We need policemen on the streets, don't we, if we're going to stop crime? Wouldn't you agree? And at the moment, that's one section of your ministry that's being perhaps not neglected, but it seems to be not at the top of the pile.
I think you're incorrect in making that statement. Just at the end of the year, in December, the police have recruited 20 new police officers. And by the end of March, beginning of April, they will have 20 more policemen with boots on the ground. And they've already started another recruitment process to try to get an additional 20 policemen by the middle of the summer. Okay. So I think your statement is incorrect. We are actively trying to recruit for our uniformed services.
Okay. Now, going back to the anti-gang task force, will Pastor Leroy Bean still be heading that up now that he's a government MP? Well,
at the present time, what MP Bean is doing is not unprecedented. Mm-hmm. He is an MP, and he has a contract to head the gang violence reduction team.
Okay. And why is that? Why is it a consultancy position? Why is it seeing as it's, that's been in place now for 5-6 years or whatever? Why is it an ongoing consultancy?
Well, the struggle that we are facing with the anti-violence strategy that we are trying to implement is ongoing, and Pastor Bean brings a vast amount of experience and advice to the table. So I'm happy at this point with his work.
Okay, but what are the tangible results? Because, we keep on getting told, well, we can't really say about that because it's all sort of confidential and sensitive and that sort of thing, but can you say what the tangible results are? Are you confident that it's having an impact?
Well, I am definitely confident it's having an impact. In the 3 years I've been working closely with Pastor being in his team, I've seen the work that they do in our elementary schools, our middle schools, and our high schools, and on the streets in our communities. And I am confident that they are doing a yeoman's job.
Well, we had 9 murders last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so is that really a yeoman's job?
It could have been 20 murders, sir.
Okay. Just one other thing. You touched on the CCTV. Could you provide us with an update on where we are with that? Have all the cameras now been installed? Is that we still have some ways to go, and how many cameras do we have up and running?
Well, at this point in time, the last update that I've received, 90% of the cameras have been installed and are operational.
And how many cameras is that roughly?
I think it's 127, 100 and something, but I know it's 90% of the cameras have been installed and are operational.
Cool. And when will the speed camera aspect come in?
Well, the speed camera phase 2 has already started, and we in the process of testing the cameras as we speak.
Now, still with sort of speed and road safety, the police keep on saying that they need much stronger deterrence in terms of addressing things like speeding. So you've got speed cameras up, so that'll make it easier to detect speeders, but the penalties haven't changed in years, have they? Have you been pressing to have, fines cranked up 200% sort of thing, or
well,
because they're not really much of a deterrent at the moment?
What we are doing in the Ministry of National Security is supplying the resources to catch and convict those that break the laws. And I think the Attorney General and that legal part will consider what the proper penalties are.
Understood. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Gareth. We'll invite Gary Foster-Skelton from BBC.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, you mentioned the National Violence Reduction Strategy being a top priority. I understand that we spoke in December, I think it was November, and we haven't got a timeline on the development of the metrics, the targets, how basically what the community can expect and hold you to in terms of what will happen with the National Violence Reduction Strategy. So can you tell us if we're going to get those kind of timelines and metrics this year?
Well, we rolled out the National Anti-Violence Strategy, I believe in November. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've been actively putting a lot of those steps in place. We have a steering committee that is made up of various ministries, and our team is already implementing those different parts of the National Violence Anti-Violence Strategy.
Okay, will we be able to get some specifics on that? Obviously, with you've talked about the restoration of the youth counselling services, mm-hmm. and I expect you will be looking for that to have an impact on the community, mm-hmm. something tangible. Yes. How will you? What do you expect that to do? Have you got? Are you creating metrics and targets for that, for the restoration of that system?
Well, yes, Gary, we are, and when you're asking for tangible things, it's things like the youth counseling that's a part of the strategy that we're putting in place. Mm-hmm. We are working closely with the our elementary school students, our middle school students, our high school students, and because we have a national strategy, it's a more joined up approach as opposed to the individual approaches in the past. Okay. So we are definitely deep in the throes of implementing the anti-violence strategy.
So with that, you say it's a restoration. With that having, how long have we been without as such, or without that in its complete form?
I cannot tell you how long, but since we have been given the National Drug Control as a body, we are now implementing the youth counseling service. So I don't know how long it was dormant, or if it was dormant, but we have tried to inject more energy into it.
Sorry, I'm just going off the word, when you use the word restoring.
Yes.
I was looking for some clarity on that. But one of the things you also mentioned, moving to digital security, introducing and amending the cybersecurity laws. How are they going to be amended? What can we expect from that?
Well, the cybersecurity and cybercrime is a new phenomenon worldwide. So we are looking at the electronic communications laws that's already on the books, and we're trying to amend them to make sure that they are modern for what we have to do in a modern world. So we are looking at the cybersecurity, cybercrime. We could protect our businesses and persons and the community.
Okay, so in terms of how Bermuda has been impacted, obviously going back to the cyber attack, are we going to get some more detail on that in reference to these new laws to say this is how this law will stop this kind of thing happening again? Well,
that's what laws are kind of put together
will we be able
for.
To know what? Will we get more information about what happened in the cyber attack to help us understand why these laws are important?
Well, I think you asked me two different questions. The cyber attack that the country experienced, I believe, in 2023, that's been under the House of Assembly, and that's a joint session of the House that's investigating that. My ministry is looking at updating and advancing the electronic communications and cybercrime bill.
Okay. One of the issues that my media colleague brought up was the staffing of the police. Obviously, there were some changes over the last year in opening up the field for people to apply. So spouses of Bermudians, etc., were able to apply. Can you comment on the success or not of opening up the opportunity to work at the police force to more people on island, and will you be repeating that effort? Will you be expanding that effort in any way to grow the police force?
Well, we're definitely looking to grow the police force. I think they're about six. They were about 60 police officers, Don, and we had opened it up not only to Bermudians but to spouses of Bermudians and resident non-Bermudians, and we have put 20 officers on the force in, I think, November, December. And the end of March, beginning of April, we will have 20 more. And there's a recruit class going on now, so hopefully in summertime we'll be able to add 20 more officers. So yes, us expanding the net, so to speak, appears to be working at this time.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, members of the media. Thank you, Minister, for your briefing. That concludes today's presentation.
Thank you.